So as you guys know, I always like to plan out and theme classes, and I thought that for the next 5 classes that we're going to be having, we're going to go through the yamas, and then perhaps we'll move into the niyamas. But basically, these are yogic, like ethical guidelines that invite you to live a life that is more aligned towards being a yogi. And I was actually explaining this to Ray last night that one thing that I really like about it is it's not like a black or white, like, oh, if you don't do this, then you're definitely not a yogi. It's more just like invitations for yourself. And that's the kind of the reason why I did my yoga teacher training, because it was more about like the spiritual learning of it. So I wanted to share with you guys a little bit about that. So the yamas, which are the first 5 that we're going to be talking about, today we are going to begin with the concept of ahimsa. And ahimsa basically translates to non-violence or non-harm. So let's begin by laying down on our backs, starting to ground down into the moment, allowing that breath to slow down. Perhaps closing your eyes or softening that gaze. And taking a deep inhale. And as you exhale, just grounding down on your mat. Noticing that you're here, and that's exactly where you're meant to be. Using our breath to guide a very quick body scan. See how our body is feeling as we take an inhale through the nose. Exhale and relax the crown of your head, your eyes, your jaw. Relaxing that neck. Taking a deep inhale through the nose. And as we exhale, relaxing that neck, shoulders, and chest. Allowing our breath to help us relax our belly and hips. And finally, relaxing those legs and feet. So, as I was mentioning, ahimsa is one of the 5 yamas, or ethical guidelines, in yogic philosophy. And it basically translates to non-violence or non-harming. But it goes so much deeper than just not causing harm. It's an invitation to live with compassion, with gentleness, and with care. and how we treat others, how we treat the environment, and especially how we treat ourselves. So let's take a deep inhale through the nose. And as we exhale, let's plant those palms on the outer side of our hips, perhaps connected to our mat or a little bit further away on the ground. Just becoming aware and present of where we are. Because the concept of Ahimsa begins with awareness. It asks us to slow down enough to notice when we're pushing too hard, judging too quickly, or perhaps speaking to ourselves in ways we would never to someone we love. It teaches us that true strength comes not from force, but actually from kindness. And it involves being very mindful about how our energy and words affect those around us. So how might this look in real life for us? It could be choosing to rest when your body needs it instead of pushing through exhaustion. It could be catching that inner critic voice and gently replacing it with understanding. It could be just taking a pause during a tough conversation and responding with curiosity instead of reactivity. So basically, we are extending patience to ourselves, to others, and to our process. Taking a deep inhale through the nose. And as we exhale, let's bring those knees towards our chest, giving them a big hug. Perhaps even allowing our body to gently rock side to side. Finally, ahimsa during our yoga class can look just like really listening deeply to your body, honoring where you are today, not where you were yesterday or where you think you should be. It's taking that variation of a pose that feels a little more nourishing. So for today, I ask you to think any moment that your mind is just drifting away into some sort of judgment, just quickly and gently guide it back with kindness and grace. Slowly allowing our body to rock gently front to back as we come to a seated position. Let her be. taking a deep inhale, bringing those hands up towards the sky, and exhale, release. Starting to warm up our body, top to bottom, beginning with some very gentle neck rolls, or perhaps just slightly bringing one ear over to one side and on to the other. Taking that right hand overhead and stretching all the way over to the left. Opening up our chest. And breathe. And slowly swinging on to the other side. And coming back through the center. Keeping your legs crisscrossed just as they are. Taking a deep inhale, lengthening up that spine. Exhale, falling forward.
I feel so
Slowly walking those hands back up. Now let's cross our feet the other way around. So if your right was closer to your body, switching that to the left. Taking a deep inhale once again and falling forward. And slowly walking our hands back up. Let's bring those feet to the back of our mat and meet at a tabletop position. At our tabletop, as always, the invitation is to close those eyes or soften your gaze, and perhaps just start doing gentle stretches from side to side. Maybe going around in one direction or the other. Tuning into that breath.
I feel locked in.
On our next exhale, meeting back at a neutral tabletop so we can move through a few rounds of cats and cows together. So as we inhale, we gaze up, chest opens up, belly drops. Exhale, pushing away from that mat with your hands, curling our back, gazing through the thighs. Inhale up and exhale, curl. And on our next exhale, coming back to that neutral tabletop, grounding from our left hand, right hand rises up towards the sky as we thread the needle under. Always options for that left hand. It can stay right where it's at. It can make its way to the outer side of our mat, or perhaps finding a bind behind our back. And if you are on that bind, slowly unwinding, planting that hand back down. Right hand comes back up to space. Planting that right hand back down on our mats. This time grounding from the right, left hand rises up, and we thread the needle over and under. And slowly starting to unwind back into that neutral tabletop. We're going to take that right foot and step it over to the left side of our mat. Right hand rises up towards the sky as we open up our chest for a supported wild thing. Cartwheeling our body over to the right, lifting up our hips for a gate. Arms can be up, parallel to our sides. Taking that left hand and stretching over towards the right. And over on the other side. Cartwheeling those hands back down to our mat, back into our tabletop. Giving those hips a little shake. Our left foot comes to that outer side of our mat. Grounding from our right hand, left hand rises up as we open up for a supported wild thing. Very slowly cartwheeling our body up for that supported gate. Again, arms can be extended out to the side, up towards the sky. And taking that right hand over to the left side of our body, feeling that deep stretch on the right side. And switching sides. Slowly planting those hands back down on our mat for our tabletop. And very, very slowly moving into our first downward facing dog. So knees lift off from our mat very gently. So we extend those legs. Taking the moment to do any extra stretches or movements in our body. Perhaps bending opposite knees or swaying hips side to side. Slowly gazing forward. We walk those feet to the top of our mat and fall forward. Allowing our entire upper body to just hang heavy. Perhaps grabbing a hold of opposite elbows into that ragdoll pose. And releasing those hands back down to the mat. And very, very slowly, vertebra by vertebra, start rising up. Allowing your head to be the very last to meet. And taking a few rounds of inhales and exhales as we stand here in our mountain pose to ground down to the moment.
Kind of like feet together mountain pose.
Taking a deep inhale through our nose, hands come up towards the sky, and exhale, falling forward. No, no, no. My back. Lifting up halfway, bringing those hands below or above those knees, creating a flat back. And falling forward one more time. Bending those knees as much as needed so we can plant our hands at the top of our mat and stepping or hopping back into a high plank or allowing our knees to drop for a supported plank. Shifting the weight of our body slightly forward as we come down halfway. Bring that chest through for our upward facing dog and back to our downward facing dog. Right leg rises up. Gazing forward, let's plant that right foot at the top of our mat in between our feet. Dropping down our left knee. Chest rises up for our runner's lunge. Hands come up towards the sky.
Yeah, put your feet up in the air.
Huh? Between your, yeah.
Can you see my balls? You might be able
Shifting
to.
the weight of our hips towards our back, extending that front leg into our half split. With the help of those hands, let's walk them to the top of our mat. Taking a stretch on that back leg. Feeling our inner thighs stretch out. I love the multitasking. Toadie's like half in a training, half taking yoga class.
Taking notes.
Taking notes, aware enough that I walked our feet or walked our hands. Let's bring those hands back into our half split. And coming back up halfway into that runner's lunge. Now using our breath, let's tuck in that back toe. Very slowly lifting up for a crescent.
Whoa.
Left hand comes back, right hand forward for a twist. And back through the center for that crescent. This time, right hand comes back, left hand forward. Perhaps even taking a little, if you feel wobbly, just take a little step forward, that back leg. Hands come together to prayer at the center of our heart as we bow down to that front leg. Perhaps even using our left elbow to hook to the outer side of that right knee. Now extending out our legs. Let's take a little hop with that back foot. Setting up for a triangle pose. But since we are at prayer and we're already looking to the right, let's drop that left hand down to the mat. Right hand comes up for a revolved triangle.
This is horrible.
Dropping both hands to the top of the mat. Left leg slowly rises up for a half split.
Dude, my right leg is so tired. Holy Christ.
Dropping that left foot down and falling forward.
Ugh,
Allowing that upper
fucking
body
flamingo.
to release any tension. And very, very slowly, vertebra by vertebra, start rising up. Allowing that head to be the very last beat. And as always in our mountain pose, just using that breath to settle back down to the moment. Taking a deep inhale through the nose. And exhale, release. On our next big inhale, hands come up towards the sky. And exhale, we fall forward. Lifting up halfway.
That's interesting.
And falling forward one more time. Planting those hands at the top of our mat and moving through a chaturanga or meeting back at a downward facing dog. This time, left leg rises up, planting that foot at the top of our mat, in between our hands, dropping that back leg and slowly rising up for our runner's lunge. Bringing those hips back in space as we extend that front leg into our half split. And walking those hands all the way to the top of the mat, sending our back leg slowly walking those hands back into our half split once again. Bringing those hips back up into our lunge. Hands rise up towards the sky. You guys look so cute. Now let's tuck that back toe. Let's take a deep inhale and slowly rising up into our crescent. On our next exhale, can we relax our shoulders a little bit? Right hand comes back, left hand forward for a twist.
Brad's still making Alex's coffee.
Coming back through center to that crescent. And Alex is like, Joey's not here. It's like someone is always trying to make me do unserious yoga. Right hand comes forward, left hand back for our twist. Bringing hands to prayer, connecting those palms on our chest.
That's good.
Slowly bowing down to that front leg, perhaps even using our right elbow to hook to the outside of that left knee. And taking a step forward with that right foot, sending out both legs. Right hand comes down to our mat. Left hand comes up for a revolved triangle.
Fuck this triangle, bro.
Left hand comes down to the top of our mat. Very slowly lifting up that right leg into a half split. Dropping that leg to the top of our mat and falling forward.
Jesus.
Stepping back into our high plank. Dropping those knees on our mats, shifting the weight of our hips back to a child's pose. Or my favorite variation, where we bring those knees far out wide on our mats
She likes
and then
to party.
allow our chest to melt down. And when you're ready, meeting back at a downward facing dog. Right leg rises up. Let's bring that right foot to the top of our mat. Dropping down our back leg, opening up towards the left, arms come out parallel for our warrior two. Shifting that weight forward and reverse. Moving back to our warrior two. This time, as we shift forward, let's bring that forearm on top of our right leg. Left hand tries to reach the front of the room. Option here to bring that right hand all the way down to our mat, or perhaps even bring it under our right leg. Left hand comes
okay.
behind our back.
Are you okay?
Being mindful, ahimsa, non-harm, non-violence. If you are in that bind, releasing that bind. Moving that to our warrior two.
You okay?
Somehow Jody's face always ends up getting hurt. Like, let's extend out that right leg. We're going to shift our left tippy toes to face the top of our mat. And this time we're just going to do a regular triangle. So let's bring that right hand, cartwheeling it down. Left hand comes up towards the sky. Left hand comes down. Let's plant those hands on the outer side of our mat, shifting our back leg, moving into a lizard. Okay, you want to do puppy yoga? Okay, lizard. Options here in lizard, we can stay where we're at, or perhaps rock front to back. Maybe even take that right hand to right knee for an extra stretch.
I always prefer things where I could just kind of chill.
Planting those hands back at the top of our mat. Let's bring that right foot back into our high plank. And moving through a chaturanga or meeting back at a downward facing dog. Left leg rises up. Let's plant that left foot at the top of our mat, grounding down our right foot, opening up our arms for a warrior two.
This is how it starts.
What I love is like, you guys all go into child pose and everything is like fabletics. Shifting that weight forward and reverse. Anyone who was here last night knows what ended up happening with my grandchild.
Oh, it's up behind the bar.
There you go.
What?
The baby.
That's your baby.
Yeah. For YouTube clarification, moving back through that warrior two, we did not bring a baby to the bar, and we did not leave the baby in the bar.
I played catch with
This time, as we shift that weight forward, let's bring that front forearm onto our thigh. Backhand tries to reach the front of the room. That's very cute. There it is. We did not take a baby to the bar. Moving back to that warrior two. Extending out that left foot. Let's bring the tippy toes of our right to face the front of the room as our left hand cartwheels down towards our mat, and then right hand rises up towards the sky. Right hand comes down. Let's plant those hands on the outer side of our mat, shifting our right foot back as we move into a lizard. And again, options in lizard, we can find some stillness, or perhaps sway side to side, up and down, bringing that left hand to left knee for a deeper stretch. Anything that feels right in your body. Planting those hands back at the top of our mat, bringing that left foot all the way back into our high plank, dropping those knees on our mat and moving into a child's pose. Slowly rising up. Let's meet at a tabletop. Let's bring that right knee towards our right arm. We're setting up for pigeon. Let's extend out our back leg. Here in pigeon, always an option to stay up here or allow your body to melt down on your mat with the help of your hands and forearms. Very slowly rising back up. Bringing that left foot to the top of our mat, changing sides of our pigeon. Right leg comes out back, squaring off those hips to the top of our mat. And again, always an option to stay up here in active pigeon pose or allowing that chest to drop and melt all the way down on your mat. And slowly rising back up. Let's bring that right leg forward and slowly making our way on our backs. Bringing those knees towards our chest and giving them a big hug. And allowing those knees to drop all the way to the right outer side of our mat. Our hands can come out parallel. And bringing those knees back towards the center and on to the other side. Coming back through center once more. And allowing your body to do any final movement that it is asking for. Any final stretch, or perhaps no movement at all. And when you're ready, sending out those arms and legs. Getting ready for our Shavasana. I'll be walking around with some lavender oil to place in the palm of your hands. And once I do, create a little cup above your nose, taking a few rounds of inhales and exhales. Cuidado con los vasos. Sí. Falta Callie. Callie, aquí. Ajá, dale pues. Y todos los de atrás. Pero manténlo así para que no se salga. Let's bring those hands over either to the sides of our body or perhaps placing hands above our heart or chest. And let's take a deep inhale through our nose and hold it at the top. And exhale it out. Taking another deep inhale through the nose and hold it. Take a little bit more air in, hold it, exhale, release. And this time, taking the deepest inhale we've taken all morning long, holding it at the top, taking a little bit more air in, a little bit more, and exhale it out. Starting to slowly bring back some awareness into our bodies. Wiggling those fingers, toes. Bringing hands overhead for a big, big stretch. And gently rocking over to one side on your mat. And taking a few rounds of inhales and exhales. And as we close off the practice for today, I invite you guys to carry the energy of Ahimsa, not just on your mat, but for the rest of the day or perhaps the week. Just knowing that, as with everything in life, it's not about being perfect at something. With Ahimsa, it's about choosing compassion over and over again. It's taking that pause before we speak. It's taking that deep breath in when we're in the middle of frustration. It's the way that we treat our own hearts when things are not necessarily going as planned. One of my favorite ways of thinking about it is, how would you speak and treat yourself like you do with the people that you love? So how would your best friend treat you and speak to you? Slowly coming back up to a seated position. Taking one final big inhale together, bringing those hands up towards the sky. And exhale, releasing down to heart center. Thank you guys for being here. I hope you guys enjoyed the class from my heart to yours. Namaste.
Namaste.